Okay, in this video, what we want to do is go over identifying figurative language, number one, worksheet, and really focus on how we explain and how we frame our answers for this part of the assignment. What I did for this assignment was I actually went through and gave you the answers, okay? Hopefully, you're able to kind of go through them, and I'm just going to use these to kind of review how to do this. Okay, so we're going to take a look at each one of these and go through. I'm going to do my best to explain it. So if there's any questions, just shoot me an email, let me know. So number one, like burnt out torches by a sick man's bed. This is an example of a simile. Okay, so again, what we want to do as we're explaining on how we figure this is we want to use the formula, since it's a comparison. What is being compared to what using what? Now this is a tricky one, okay? Because the line, like burnt out torches by a sick man's bed, is actually being compared to something that we don't know. So it uses the keyword like, that's why it's a simile, but we don't know what's being compared to burnt out torches. So if you struggle with this one, no worries, pretty common, because what we want to put down is that something unknown is being compared to torches by a sick man's bed using, and again, we have to put this down, using the keyword like. So again, we want to make sure we're explaining a simile in regards to what, right, it's using. Okay. Number two, there's a faucet in the basement that had dripped one drop all year. Since he fixed it, we can't find it without wearing scuba gear. So this is an example of hyperbole. This is an extreme exaggeration. The writer is trying to make a point. Okay. So the amount of how much the sink has leaked is being exaggerated. Now, why? Okay. So the amount of how much the sink has leaked is being exaggerated to show how bad the leak is, or how much of a problem they have with the leak. So make sure you're always getting that why in there when you explain hyperbole. Okay. Number three, when the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears. This is an example of personification. Okay, so the stars are given the human ability to cry, so we can see that they watered heaven with their tears, and then also throw, so throwing down their spears. So the stars are given what human ability, or what human abilities? They're given the abilities to cry and throw. Okay. Number four is the moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor. This is an example of a metaphor. There's actually two. So we do need to make sure that we're on the lookout for multiple devices that might be used. So let me explain the two. First of all, we see a form of the verb be right here in the word was. That's how we know it's a metaphor. Here's the other metaphor. So we have to explain what's being compared to what using what. So in the first one, in the first line, the moon is compared to a ghost ship using the keyword was. In the second line, the road was a ribbon of moonlight. The road is compared to a ribbon using the word was. So again, that's how that would work. So we want to make sure we explain what's being compared to what whenever it's a metaphor or a simile. Number five is actually, there's two different examples. Number one, the score stood 4-2 with but one inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same. Okay, this is from Casey at the Bat, very famous poem. Okay, first of all, it's hyperbole because Cooney and Barrows' deaths are exaggerated. When they say then Cooney died and Barrows did the same, what they're saying is that in the game of baseball, both runners, both of them got out. They were either thrown out or they struck out. Okay, why is it being exaggerated? It could be exaggerated to sort of create the suspense of the situation in the poem. Okay. The second thing is that it's personification. So the score in line 1 is given the ability to stand, which is a human trait. Okay. So that's how that would work. Again, we're looking to see that we've answered both. So if you didn't, make sure you do get down the next answer. Number 6, the sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. A lot of people put metaphor for this because they see the word was. But if you look at what's on both sides of was, the sun, and then we have the keyword was, and then shining, it's not comparing anything. It's only telling us what the sun is doing. But what we do see is that the sun was shining with all his might. So this is an example of personification. The sun is given a human trait or a human ability of strength. And actually, a couple years ago, one of my students also said that with the pronoun his, it's also giving the sun the human trait of gender, which is also personification. So just make sure, again, you're on the lookout for these two things. But the big reason why it's personification is that the sun is given a human ability of strength. Okay? All right. This one, to be honest with you, I've had some different answers here, but the big answer here is that this is a metaphor, right? The leaves are little yellow fish swimming in the river. Okay? So we take a look at this one right here, right? And this is a form of the verb be. And what you see is that on one side of it is the leaves, and then it's saying that the leaves are something. So the leaves are little yellow fish. Okay? And these little yellow fish are swimming in the river. So this is a metaphor because the leaves are compared to fish or swimming fish using the keyword are. Okay? It's not personification necessarily because fish can swim, not just humans. A lot of animals can swim, so we want to stay away from personification. Okay? Number 8. The old clock down in the parlor, like a sleepless mourner grieves, is an example of a simile. Right? And again, you see it right here in the line break. Right? So after the line break, we see the keyword like. So if you look at this, the old clock, and it's saying it's like something. So the clock is compared to a sleepless mourner using the keyword like. Again, some people say it might be also personification because the clock is old, but items and things, objects do age, so that may not be the greatest example. But another reason why it might be personification is that the old clock is grieving. So I know that a lot of students will also put personification here, which I actually agree with, because the clock, is given the human ability to grieve or be sad. Okay? Last couple here. Number 9. By the lakes that thus outspread, their lone waters lone and dead, their sad waters sad and chilly. So this is personification. Okay? The water is actually given a couple of traits here. The water is given the human trait of sadness, and also it's given the ability to die. So when it says that the lone waters are dead, right, and then they're sad waters, that's personification because we're giving the water human attributes and human traits. Okay? And then number 10 is actually 2. Okay? First of all, it's a metaphor because it's saying fame is a bee. Okay? So fame is compared to a bee using is. And then it's personification because fame has a song. So we're giving fame the ability to sing, right? And then also somebody a couple years ago said that we're also giving it the ability to possess because fame has something. In this case, it has a song. So again, personification is always about identifying what non-human thing is being given what human ability or abilities. So in this case, we have fame being given the ability to sing and possess. So again, just one more time, this is good review, right? This is the part for me that we really need to make sure we understand. So I would ask you to go back over the last video that explains these formulas, and we really want to make sure moving forward, because you'll see a couple more of these assignments coming up, that we really understand how we are framing our answers. You're going to see a section on your test, your poetry test, that will look exactly like this. And you're going to need to make sure you really focus on how you are explaining what technique is being used. So do me a favor, go back over that video, the video number 2 on figurative language, that shows you how to frame your answers when you get to these boxes. Okay. Again, feel free to make changes to your assignment. That way you have it for your notes, and that you're able to use those to review for your test, which will come up shortly. All right. Again, any questions, let me know. Thanks.